Mamagyanaatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are coming to the end of our Brahma-samhita journey, and we have, we got through the heavy part, the first part, which was very, philosophical. And we've just completed the prayers of Lord Brahma, the Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, those beautiful prayers. And now now we've come to this verse 56. I believe this may be a part of Lord Brahma's prayers also, the very last one. So we can chant that. And this is a different meter. And this is, and I think I might have mentioned this last week, it's a verse that our Gurudev used to, in particularly in his early world tours, I heard him in recordings. I wasn't there, I was too young at the time, but heard later in recordings, he would often chant this verse, like giving some feeling. It's a beautiful description of Vrindavan, Krishna's divine abode. And, it's like he was injecting something in the hearts, of the persons hearing from his divine grace, giving them some feeling. There was one occasion, Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave some advice to some persons who were trying to preach, and they were getting into some type of very scientific and technical explanation they wanted to try and convince people with. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj told them that wasn't necessary. And he said, just speak with people about the beauty of Krishna, the sweetness of Krishna. And the fortunate souls, they'll come forward. They'll naturally be attracted to that. You don't need to make it so complicated. And because ultimately, and this is something to remind ourselves from time to time, it's not a brain exercise, right? Like you could present a perfect argument to someone, a perfect logical argument, but if they don't have that faith, they don't have that grace to be able to appreciate it, then they're not going to accept it enough. Even they may say that finally that they understand it, but then if are they actually going to imbibe it, make it a part of their lives? One of my friends is quite a brilliant person and highly intelligent person. And they told me that when they were in earlier years, when they were newer to Krishna consciousness, they would get some pleasure out of debating with philosophers or different professors, say, and, very intellectual people, and defeating them in a logical way and showing them the superiority of Krishna consciousness. But then after some time, he realized like it was actually quite an empty exercise, because, okay, he was able to have a debate and defeat these persons, but then was that putting them into a culture of faith? Were they actually then ready to take this into their hearts and make it a part of their lives and enter into this journey of inner transformation? No, it was just like a mental exercise, right? And that's not what this is about. So, we are sharing the beauty of, reality, the beautiful, Search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. We are sharing that. Or there's also one beautiful line of our Gurudev I was remembering the other day, where he says that he's speaking about, this message as a whole. And he says, actually, this subject matter is not for preaching. But he said, it is a transcendental fuse that will connect us from the mundane to the transcendental. Like it's a live wire, it's a live current. So it's not just what we're telling people or what we're explaining to them, but we're trying somehow or other, right? We're trying to connect them with this live reality current, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told of one occasion when he was preaching in South India, and actually it was Suvasini, she speaks Tamil, that's her native tongue, and that's one of the primary languages they speak in South India. And there was some local official, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj needed his support in order to really get some attention, remove some barriers. But this local official, he was saying, like, you don't even speak our language, like, why should we take you seriously? First, go and learn Tamil, learn our language, and then we'll listen to what you have to say. And Srila Sridhar said that actually we consider this to be an urgent mission. And he said, imagine if someone's drowning in the river, are you going to go and learn the local language, before you go and try and get help for them? No, you'll go and, pull some people over to help by some means or another, by some hand gesture, some expression, some movement, right? You'll try to convey to them. It's an urgent situation, right? So this is, and similarly, this is something beyond just a verbal or mental exchange, but it's a live stream of reality. And by whatever means possible, we want to try to connect persons to that, inspire them with the beauty of what this is. So this verse is very wonderful in that sense. It's a description of the beauty of Vrindavan Dham, the beauty of Krishna and his divine abode. So we can chant this verse. So we reached verse 56 of Sri Brahma-samhita. Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpatadavo Juma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Shri Priya Sakhi Chiranandam Jyoti Paramapi Tarasvatyamapi Cha Sayachak Shirabdi Shavati Shirabibhyascha Sumahan Ime Shardakyo Bhavajati Nahi Yachapi Samaya Vaje Shveta Dvipam Tamaham Miha Golokamiti Yam Vinantaste Santapshiti Virala Chara Katipaye. That place where the divine goddesses of fortune are the beloved, and Krishna, the supreme male, is the only lover. All the trees are divine, wish-fulfilling trees. The soil is made of transcendental gems, and the water is nectar. Where every word is a song, every movement is dancing. The flute is the dearmost companion. Sunlight and moonlight are divine ecstasy, and all that be is divine and enjoyable. Where a great ocean of milk eternally flows from the udders of billions of Sarabi cows, and the divine time is eternally present, never suffering the estrangement of past and future for even a split second. That supreme transcendental abode of Shweta Dweep do I adore. Practically no one in this world knows that place, but for only a few pure devotees, and they know it as Goloka. Very attractive, isn't it? Hearing this, wakens some attraction within the heart. And this is one reason why, it's necessary for us to go on hearing these topics, these scriptures, because it helps to awaken this laulyam, this hunger, this attraction within our hearts. Another comment of our Gurudev, which I've appreciated very much, is one where he says there are many pious activities that we can perform, for the service of the Lord. But he says that is not the cause of the hankering, of the desire that is necessary to gain entrance to Vrindavan Dham. And then he spoke of the importance of Shravan, like hearing, hearing these topics, hearing the beauty of Krishna, because that will awaken some attraction within us. Oh, how wonderful, how I would like to be a part of that in some small way. How beautiful, how wonderful. Very beautiful. All the trees are wish-fulfilling trees. The soil is made of transcendental gems. The water is nectar. Every word is a song. Every movement is dancing. And, the translation is perhaps not super clear. But as an example, if I knew Sanskrit better, then I could explain better. But like this line, Chiranandam Jyoti, it's saying that the light is conscious and joyful. Subhasini, please come closer. Subhasini, yeah. So it's saying even the light is conscious and joyful there. Everything is conscious there and joyful. And another line which I like very much, and our Gurudev, he explained this line. I'll come to that comment in just a second, Scarlett. Another line which our Gurudev explained here, this Nime Shardakyo Vavajati Nahi Achapi Samaya, saying that not even a second moves without Krishna's will. Like time is waiting for Krishna's order. Time doesn't move without his will, without his desire. And this last line, it's actually saying, so it's translated as practically no one in this world knows of that place. But literally what it says is that you can count on the fingers of one hand, like how many people can truly know that place in this world. And so Scarlett had a question here. Goloka means planet of cow. Yes. Go means cow, also means senses, but yes, the first is generally cow. And loka, loka means referring to like a country, a place, like that, planet. So yes, it's referring to Krishna's abode because Krishna loves the cows, right? So it is the land of cows. Okay. Do you want to read the purport, Devi? We'll have Subhasini Devi. You have to go. Oh, she needs to get her glasses. Okay, I'll read this here. Purport. The place that is reached by the jivas through the highest loving service is completely transcendental. Despite that, it is never non-differentiated or without attributes. The non-differentiative plane of Brahman is attained by the jivas through the sentiments of anger, fear, and delusion. But the devotees reach the transcendental world of Paravyom Vaikuntha, or above that, Goloka, according to their individual rasa, or pure devotional heart's disposition. In fact, that supreme holy abode of Goloka is Shweta Dweep, white or effulgent island, on account of its extreme purity. Persons who attain to the ultimate joy of perfection and pure devotion during their sojourn in this mundane world see the plain of Shwetadweep within Gokul Vrindavan and Navadweep in this world. They speak of it as Goloka. There in Goloka and all the beauty of transcendental variegatedness are found the beloved, lover, trees, vines, earth, mountains, rivers, and forest, water, speech, movement, the flute song, moon and sun, the enjoyment, the inconceivable wonders of the 64 arts, the cows, the nectarian flow of milk, and the transcendental time of the eternal present. Descriptions with the underlying conception of Goloka are found in many places in the Vedas and other scriptures, such as the Puranas, Tantras, etc. It is stated in the Chandogya Upanishad, Sabhuyad Yavan Va Ayam Akashashtavan Eshantar Hridaya Kasha Ube Asmin Java Prithvi Antar Eva Samahite Ubhav Agnischa Vayuscha Surya Chandramasa Vago Vidyunakshachani Yakcha Shihasti Yakcha Nasti Sarvam Tadasmin Samahitam Iti. The purport underlying this statement is that as many facets of variegatedness are found in the mundane world, all these and much more, myriads of excellences are found in Goloka. The variegatedness and excellences of Goloka are centralized and harmonious, whereas those of the mundane world are disjointed and unharmonious, and thus the cause of mixed happiness and unhappiness. This line, it hit me quite profoundly. It was like a year or two ago. Because this is a thing, right? Like we all experience some degree of, beauty and wonder, joy, right? Sweetness in this world. But it's all in a very scattered and disjointed way, right? And when I heard this line here, it really just struck me very deeply. I'll read this again. The variegatedness and excellences of Goloka are centralized and harmonious, whereas those of the mundane world are disjointed and unharmonious. Here, everything's clashing, right? What makes one person happy makes another person unhappy. And our happiness also generally depends upon the unhappiness of others, right? So many things that we get some happiness from. If you lift the cover, right, and analyze how much exploitation has gone into the production of that thing or that person that's giving you joy, I mean, it's a frightening thing, right? It's a frightening thing. I remember some years ago walking into a shopping mall in Sao Paulo, and Brazilians, they know how to do sophistication, highly sophisticated people, like high fashion, high beauty, high style. And it really just struck me like, wow, like this like glittering cover that we find in the world, it's all just to show, if you go and lift the cover, like how much, these phones that we use, or, these fancy fashion wear that people purchase, like how much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into that, right? We don't want to think about it. So this is the nature, the enjoyment that we experience in this world. Unfortunately, we can't avoid it. Even if we try, we can only minimize it. We can't completely avoid it. So all the enjoyment in this world is reactionary, right? But the enjoyment, the beauty, the sweetness of that world, because it's all centralized, it's all moving in a spirit of dedication towards a common center, then it is harmonious. There's no bad after effect. There's no horrible underbelly, no sad secret story, right? There's not going to be any expose, what's really going on. But it's all sweetness, beauty, love, beginning, middle, and end, all the way through. Because it has a common center, because it's based on dedication, because there's a higher purpose behind it all. So the variegatedness and excellences of Goloka are centralized and harmonious, whereas those of the mundane world are disjointed and unharmonious, and thus the cause of mixed happiness and unhappiness. The harmonious variegatedness and excellences are pearl white and full of transcendental ecstasy. By dint of Shuddha Bhakti Samadhi, the harmonious centralization. So maybe I'll just explain that line. By dint of Shuddha, just to call here, Shuddha Bhakti Samadhi. So Samadhi, many of you are, actually everyone here, I'm not in the beginner's class now, I think everyone knows these terms, but Samadhi, as you all know, right, is the goal of yoga practice, right? Samadhi, to enter this trance, right? Absorption in the divine. But we know sometimes we forget. One second. My mother's calling. Hello, Matza. I'm on a Zoom call. You're on speaker. You want to say hello? Everyone's sending their dandavats. I'll call you back in a like maybe an hour. Is that good for you?
Where are you?
I'm in Ireland at Suvasini's home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and she's my Vishnu Sahasranam buddy.
Vishnu Sahasranam buddy. Yeah. I'll hand you as my mother.
Does she listen every day?
Yeah, every day. Yeah. Okay. So normally we think of samadhi as like a yogic attainment, right? But it's actually, there's also a devotional type of samadhi, right? That there's total absorption in devotion and meditation upon the Lord, right? And so this expression we don't hear so often. It's Shuddha Bhakti Samadhi, pure devotion, trance of pure devotion, meditation upon the Lord. And of course, when these, I'll just close this door here. And of course, when this is our tradition, right? That when an exalted soul leaves their body in this world, then we're not burning that body as is normally the case in the Vedic tradition. But, considering that form to be divine, transcendental, then it is placed in the earth, preserved in the earth, and we consider that they are absorbed in a trance of devotion and meditation upon the Lord. So by dint of Shuddha Bhakti Samadhi, the harmonious centralization of the pure heart filled with divine devotion, the Vedas personified and saintly devotees practicing devotion revealed by the Vedas can actually see that holy abode when they look inwards toward the current of the pure consciousness that pervades their devoted, surrendered hearts. By the power of Krishna's grace, their minute cognitive faculties take on an infinite nature, and they attain equal enjoyment with Krishna in the Dham. Wow, that's quite a mind-blowing statement, isn't it? Wow. By the power of Krishna's grace, their minute cognitive faculties take on an infinite nature, and they attain equal enjoyment with Krishna in the Dham. Wow, this is the power of love. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he quoted one simple example that anyone can appreciate, given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that if, say, a prince falls in love with a poor woman on the street, right, and he marries her, makes her his princess, then everything that is his will now belong to her. That is the power of love. So similarly, we are finite, tiny, insignificant beings, but if we make a connection with the infinite in a relationship of love, then everything is possible. In love has no boundaries, right? There are no limits within love, right? There's no high or low, right? This is another way that Srila Sridhar Maharaj has expressed it. Welcome, Chintamani. There's no high or low in a relationship of love, right? All of that is forgotten. So this is a unique, curious power of love, right? So it's just quite extraordinary. By the connection, it's Marie. Sorry, I keep forgetting Marie signed into that account. Welcome, Marie. So by the power of this connection of love, when the finite connects with the infinite, we take on some type of infinite quality also. This is inconceivable for me to understand, but appreciating the concept to some degree. So we'll continue with the purport here. There is a deep meaning to the line, Param api tad asvadyam apicha. Param api indicates that Krishna is the ultimate in the infinite expanse of transcendental ecstasy. And tad asvadyam api means even his enjoyable truth. The glory of Radhika's love, the nectarian sweetness of Krishna that Radhika experiences, and the joy that Radhika feels from that experience. When Krishna feels the need to taste asvadyam, these three heart sentiments, he becomes golden, Gora. That golden quality of his is his manifest ecstasy of nectarian service. And this is also eternally present in Shvetadvipa. So this is a nice example, right? How there's so many layers of meaning in these texts. And this is, this requires the spiritual experts to be able to draw out, right? So this is quite beautiful to hear this. There's like this hidden treasure, hidden treasure, hidden reference to Lord Chaitanya, right? The Golden Lord, that through this word asvadyam is referring to tasting or something that is relishable or enjoyable. So he's saying that there's this reference. Apparently this is simply a description of Vrindavan Dham, right? But there's also this hidden reference to like, what is Krishna searching after? What is relishable for Krishna, right? And his desire to experience the sentiment of Radharani, the sweetness within him that only Radha, Sri Radha, can taste and experience and relish. Okay, so that's the end of that purport for verse 56. Does anyone want to make any comment or question at this point, or should we continue? Okay, I'm gonna go on to the next verse. So now we'll hear, so Lord Brahma has just offered all these beautiful prayers to Krishna. And now we hear how the Lord responds. Ato vacha mahavishnur bhagavantam prajapatim brahman mahatva vigyane prajasarge chatenmatihi pancha shloke mimam vidyam vatsadata nibodame. Marie, do you want to read the translation and purport there? We're in verse 57. Do you have
I don't have it pulled up. I just barely made it over from another
Zoom.
Zoom.
I was thinking that you haven't been coming lately because you're joining another Zoom at the same time. So.
Yeah, it's but it got out on time for once today, so I'm here, but I'm not really all the way here yet.
I'm with you. Okay, I'll read them. Upon hearing these quintessential hymns of Brahma, the Supreme Lord Krishna said unto him, O Brahman, if with knowledge of transcendental science you wish to create progeny, then, my dear one, hear the wisdom of these 5 shlokas, these 5 verses from me. So now we're kind of coming to what we were mentioning last time, right? That, Lord Brahma is in this particular situation where he has this desire to serve the Lord. He has this desire for transcendental science, as it's being expressed here, but he also has a desire to create, right? And so it's really beautiful, right? Krishna is not saying, hey, you're in Maya, you're an illusion, go get your act together. That's not what he's doing. He's saying, no, it's okay. That's cool. Let me advise you how you can move forward with both of these things going on in your heart. So we'll read this purport, 57. The names Krishna and Govinda express the form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. And when Brahma earnestly chanted those names, the Lord was propitiated. The desire for creation was in Brahma's heart. Krishna then, now here's the key, here's the money line here. Krishna then explained to Brahma how transcendental exclusive devotion can be accomplished by a soul engaged in worldly occupations. Right? Both is going on. By combining his worldly activity with the desire to follow the order of the Lord. So this is very relevant, right? You know, this is very practical instruction, you know, for like 90% of persons who are practicing Krishna consciousness. The transcendental science is knowledge of the supreme divinity. If with such knowledge you wish to create progeny, here are the teachings of bhakti that I shall impart to you in the next 5 shlokas. That is, how to practice bhakti by executing worldly duties in the form of following the Lord's order. Okay, is everybody on the edge of their seat right now? So verse 58, Prabhude jnana bhakti pyam atmanyananda chinmayi udetyan utama bhaktir bhagavad prema lakshana. Translation, when transcendental experience awakens by means of knowledge and devotion, the highest devotion symptomized by love for the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, the beloved of the soul. Wow, just take a pause there. The beloved of the soul awakens in the devotee's heart. I'm going to read that one more time. When transcendental awakens by means of knowledge and devotion, the highest devotion symptomized by love for the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, the beloved of the soul, awakens in the devotee's heart. Purport. The meaning of actual knowledge or gyan is sambandha gyan, perspective of the correlation of the transcendental, the material, and Krishna. Here, psychic, mental, or intellectual knowledge or impersonal Brahman liberation is not indicated because such knowledge is opposed to devotion. Sambandha Gyan, or knowledge of the soul's relativity in the absolute. Oh, that's just wonderful, isn't it? This is a really wonderful, concise explanation of what is Sambandha Gyan. Knowledge of the soul's relativity in the absolute. Beautiful. This is Sambandha Gyan. Constitutes the teachings of the first 7 of the 10 fundamental divine principles known as Dashmo. Okay, well, I think I know what we're going to read next. So this is and it's a short text, but this is a text of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And as I understand, it's kind of following a tradition that we see in Vaishnava Sampradayas, that they outline their fundamental principles. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur did that for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, Gaudiya conception, Gaudiya Vaishnava conception. So Dosh is 10, Mul means root. So these 10 roots, like fundamental principles, these are laid out by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so maybe we can actually go through that next. That won't take so long, and it's very helpful to review these points. And for those of you who are familiar with Revealed Truth, this book that was prepared from the talks of our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, that's based around the structure of the principles of these 10 points. So it's a very helpful text to be familiar with. So maybe we can go through that next. According to the scriptures that expound pure devotion, the principle of abhideya, or means to the end, is the cultivation of divine service for Krishna's transcendental pleasure by the practices of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshiping, praying, servitude, friendship, and self-surrender. This is elaborately described in the holy book, Sri Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. By such knowledge and devotion, devotion in love divine is awakened and blooms in the heart of the devotee. This is the ultimate in devotion and the objective of all spiritual endeavor for the jiva, prayojan. So this is giving in a very nice, concise way these three principles, right? Of sambandha, abhideya, prayojan. You know, within these categories, everything's covered, right? Sambandha, this explanation is so nice. Knowledge of our relativity within the absolute, right? Not having knowledge of who we are relative, you know, to what, you know, the current movie stars or politicians or whatever, right? The media, the current media is saying, or the current trends, not who we are in relation to that. Like we need a reference point to know who we are, right? Who are we as a person in the world in 2023, right? Who are we as an Irish citizen or an American citizen, right? Like we normally conceive of ourselves, or as a woman in the world, right? Or I'm a 38-year-old woman, whatever, right? Like normally we think of ourselves within these types of limited frameworks, right? So what is Sambandha Gyan? Like zooming out and having that view of who and where and what we are relative, you know, within eternity, within the absolute, you know, in God's eye, in Krishna's eye, how do we stand in relation to that? That's Sambandha Gyan. Not relative to any type of limited provincial knowledge or standpoint, but from the highest, broadest standpoint, where do we stand? In relation to what truth? This is Sambandha Gyan. Then what is the principle of abhideya? The means to the end, the cultivation of these devotional practices, Shravan, Kirtan, right, Smaran, Vandan, Archan, and so on, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord, worshiping the Lord, and so on. Ultimately, full self-surrender is the means to the end. And then what is the prayojan? What is the goal? Devotion in love, divine love. This is the ultimate, you know, to have love for the Lord, to have that awakened with it. It's already there, but in a dormant state, to have that awakened. This is the ultimate in devotion and the objective of all spiritual endeavor for the jiva. If you want to come and read this one, 59. Okay. Okay. 59. 59, yeah. Okay.
Vimanaistath sadacharaistath abhyasayat nirantaram bodayan atmanatmanam bhaktim apyuttamam yuttamam labhet. Translation. Supreme devotion is attained by gradually increasing perception of one's intrinsic self through constant self-cultivation, following authority, virtuous practices, and practicing spiritual life. Okay, purport. Authority refers to the scriptures that teach us about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as the Vedas, Puranas, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, etc. Virtuous practices refers to the practices of the true devotee saints, and the practices inspired by the divine love in the hearts of the pure devotees who follow the path of love for the Lord. By practicing spiritual life, it is meant that one should learn about the Dasamula or 10 fundamental divine principles from the scriptures. And after receiving as directed therein the holy name of the Lord, embodying his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, one should go on with the constant practice of his divine service, taking the name regularly every day. It must be clearly understood that in this practicing spiritual life, scriptural cultivation and saintly association, sadhu sangha, are necessary. When virtuous practices are combined with the service of the name, the 10 offenses to the holy name can no longer endure. To faithfully follow the sadhus who hear and chant the glories of the name without any trace of offense is the true practicing of spiritual life. In the heart of one who faithfully continues his practicing spiritual life in this line, the objective, which is devotion in divine love, makes her gracious appearance.
Wow.
Wow. I think everything we want to know is here, I think. Right? Everything is clearly concise, everything is there. It's like for practice and prayojan, everything.
Continue.
Yeah, that is not, I don't have it.
I don't know if we're gonna come to the very end. We don't need to rush.
Right,
But maybe
okay, we can
take our time. And also I have a request for next week, because I think we're gonna finish next week. And what would also be nice is if everyone can share a favorite verse in Brahma-samhita. Maybe you could have a look through the text and find one to share that particularly touches your heart and or strikes you in some way. I think that would be a really nice way to, to close, to conclude this journey. So that's my humble request for next week. Okay, do you want to read the next verse, Stevie?
Okay. Ishyaha shreyaskaram nasti yaya nirvritim apnuyad ya sadayati mam eva bhaktim tam eva sadayet. Translation. Sadhana bhakti or practicing devotional life is the means to the objective, prema bhakti. Devotion in love. For all that is auspicious, there is absolutely nothing beyond prema bhakti. She brings in her retinue divine ecstatic joy, and she can give me to my devotee. Purport. There is no greater good for the jiva beyond prema bhakti. It is the objective of all devotional practices and the ultimate transcendental ecstasy of the soul. It is only by virtue of prema bhakti that one can attain the lotus feet of Krishna. One who cultivates his practicing devotional life with deep longing and earnestness for that objective will attain that treasure. Others cannot.
Anything you want to comment from Vivi?
No, just that earnestness, the longing, like Laulyam, right? It's Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. That verse, it's there, right? It is only by the, really the intense greed that one can get that. It is not by anything other means, right? That's what, and to get that earnest, that is the greed for that, the real hankering. That how do you get that? To only by hearing and to associate with the people who have it, right? Who have that hankering. And when you start appreciating that, then you will also on Tanka. Is that right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Actually, it's really funny because we were talking about this exact point at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, exactly this point. Yeah, and I was quoting some expressions of Gurudev on this point. So it's pretty cosmic. Because Suhasini wasn't here when we started. She just came in towards the end. Okay.
Wow. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati.
Priyatam. This is a verse of Rupa Goswami where he's speaking about this. We were talking about Laulyam, but I didn't say the verse. Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. Priyatam Jani Kuntopi Labhyate. Tatra Laulyam.
Laulyam Ekalam. Janma Koti Sukrite Na Labhyate. Yeah. Even, yeah.
There's so many pious activities, it's not possible to get this. This is the exact quote from Gurudev we were discussing in the beginning, and this is why, association, sadhu sangha, hearing is so important. Otherwise our supposedly devotional activity can become mechanical. In special cases, one may have, and our gurus have spoken of this, one may have a very deep attachment to the service of Guru, devotion for Guru, and everything can be attained through that. Then that is a special case. But even in that, there will be an awakening of this realization of the importance of Shravan and hearing, right? And going beyond just a mechanical, carrying out of different activities or services, right? Ultimately, our heart needs to awaken in desire for this, right? That's what this is about. It is a conscious, loving cultivation. I really, I just wanted to draw attention. I really like this line in verse 59. No, it's only a few minutes left. This verse is so nice. Supreme devotion is attained by gradually increasing perception of one's intrinsic self. Perception of one's intrinsic self through constant self-cultivation, following authority, virtuous practices, and practicing spiritual life. So all these, surrendered activities, devotional practices, they have this purifying effect. And what happens as a result of that purifying effect? Cheto darpana marjanam, right? The clearing of the dust from the mirror of our consciousness, which results in this perception of our intrinsic self, our spiritual self. There's just some dust that's on the surface, right? But through the chanting of the holy name, through association with the saints, the sadhus, right? That dust begins to clear. And that pure, bright self will become more manifest, more apparent to us. So this line is just so wonderfully articulated, isn't it? Increasing perception of one's intrinsic self.
This is Sambandha Jnana, right? That is the perception of oneself, right? The relativity of the absolute, you said.
But one thing about Sambandha Jnana is, I don't think it necessarily refers to realization, right? It may be a theoretical knowledge, right? But this phrase
realization is more realization.
Something a little more, yeah. But Sambandha Jnana is definitely the beginning of that, right? Very nice. And this line that you pointed out is so nice. This deep longing and earnestness. This is the hunger that needs to awaken in us. Well, I think I'd like to save 61 for next week because it's quite involved.
Yeah.
And
62.
And in this next verse is where Krishna is speaking a little more precisely on this point of how to carry out your worldly work, right? And become Krishna conscious at the same time. So stay tuned for that. Or maybe we'll just read the translate. Maybe we'll read the verse in the translation, then we can go into we can end on that meditation, and we can go into the purport next week. Do you want to just read the verse in translation?
Dharmananyan parityajya mamekam vaja vishwasan yadashi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadashi kurvan nirantaram karma lokoyam manuvartate tenaiva karmana yayan mam param bhaktim ichchati. Translation: abandon all other types of religion and serve me with resolve. One will attain perfection according to the nature of his faith. Perpetually pursuing worldly occupations or karma, the people of the world remain in the world. Meditate upon me through the execution of your particular work, and you will attain to loving devotion, the supreme transcendental devotion.
Okay, so I think that's a nice meditation to close with for this week. Does anyone want to share any thoughts, comments, questions? Should we close there? Okay, well then we'll close here for today. Always so wonderful to tune into this divine live stream, Brahma-samhita, and such good company. Always looking forward to next time. Jai Sri Brahma-samhita ki Jai. Sindhu Deva Chalpati Tanam Pavani Vaishnavebhyo. All these ki Jai. Guru Deva ki Jai. Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai. Anande. Hari Bol. See you all next time.
Shakaliti ki Jai.
Hari Bol.
Vivo!